So, Microsoft is on an absolute tear, rolling out AI agents at a mind-blowing speed. And they're promising to completely change the way we work. But, with great power comes some pretty serious peril. Today, we're going to break down what Gartner's latest analysis says you absolutely need to know.
Okay, this slide right here, this is the whole story in a nutshell. A whopping 86% of companies are saying Microsoft Copilot is a major priority. But then you look at that tiny little bar next to it. Only 14% feel like they actually have the right governance in place to handle it. That huge gap, that's where all the danger is, and it's exactly what we're diving into today. All right, so let's make sure we're all speaking the same language. What are we talking about when we say AI agents? Well, Gartner defines them as these autonomous bits of software. They use AI to see what's going on around them, make their own decisions, and then take action to get something done. You can almost think of them as little digital employees you can build to automate just about anything. And look, it's no shocker who's leading the pack, right? A staggering 65% of companies are already expecting to just standardize on Microsoft. Now, what's fascinating here is that this often isn't some big, conscious, strategic decision. No, Microsoft is basically becoming the default AI provider just because they're already everywhere. First up, let's talk about the promise, because honestly, it is a really powerful one. Microsoft's whole strategy is designed to get everyone, and I mean everyone, building their own AI agents.
And this slide just illustrates their approach perfectly. On one side, you've got Copilot Studio. This is for your everyday business users, your IT folks. It's all simple, low-code, no-code tools for building agents right inside stuff you already use, like Teams. But then on the other side, for the serious pro developers, you've got Azure AI Foundry. That's the full-blown, heavy-duty engineering stack for building really complex, powerful systems with multiple agents. They are covering all the bases.
And the long-term vision here is, wow, it's incredibly ambitious. They're talking about creating an open agentic web, a future where an agent from Microsoft, one from Google, one your own company built, you name it, they can all talk to each other and collaborate to get work done. It's a pretty wild goal. Okay, so that's the dream. But with that incredible promise, yep, you guessed it, comes the peril. Gartner is warning that this super fast, often totally ungoverned rollout is creating a kind of digital Wild West inside a lot of companies. Which really brings us to the central question, doesn't it? What actually happens when these autonomous little agents start running wild, without any of the proper controls in place? Well, according to Gartner, the danger really shows up in three main ways. First, you get agent sprawl. Think of your digital workspace like a garden. If everyone can just plant whatever they want, wherever they want, with no plan, you're going to get overrun with weeds fast. It's the same thing with AI agents. Second, the massive risk of data oversharing. And third, the reason these problems pop up in the first place, fragmented controls. So let's dig into that control problem, because it's a big one. There is no single central dashboard to manage all of this stuff. The controls are scattered across at least 5 different admin centers. Gartner even says that Microsoft's so-called Copilot control system is really more of a marketing concept than an actual unified tool. So here's the bottom line. For most IT leaders, trying to get a complete picture of all the AI agent activity happening, it's pretty much impossible. Now, this brings us to a huge, and I mean huge, hidden risk. Microsoft will tell you, hey, don't worry, Copilot respects all your existing user permissions. And, that's true, it does. But what if those permissions, especially in old places like SharePoint and OneDrive, have been wrong for years? What if people have access to all sorts of stuff they shouldn't? The AI agent will just correctly follow those flawed permissions, and it could end up showing really sensitive data to exactly the wrong people. And the risk actually gets even bigger. Microsoft is now plugging in third-party models, like the ones from Anthropic. And as Gartner states right here in their report, when you use those, your data gets sent outside the secure bubble of Microsoft 365. And suddenly, Microsoft's data protection rules just don't apply anymore. That is a massive security blind spot. So beyond all the security risks, there's another hidden challenge waiting for you, the price. Figuring out the real cost of these incredibly powerful tools is, well, it's not simple at all. On the surface, it all seems pretty straightforward. For the pro dev tools in Azure AI Foundry, you pay as you go for things like computing power. For the business tools in Copilot Studio, it's mostly priced per message. You can get a bundle of, say, 25,000 messages for $200 a month. Simple enough, right? But this is where it gets really tricky. What exactly does Microsoft consider to be a single message? The answer can have a massive impact on your final bill. And this right here, this is the hidden cost multiplier you have to get your head around. A single, simple question you ask an agent can actually trigger a dozen billable actions on the back end. So, for example, if your agent needs to go search through your company's internal files to find an answer, that could count as 10 messages just for the search, plus another 2 for crafting the answer. All of a sudden, your one question just cost you 12 messages from your monthly budget.
And the gotchas don't stop there. You know those message bundles you buy? They expire every single month. It's use them or lose them. If you hit your usage limit and you haven't set up pay-as-you-go, your agents could just switch off. And those handy alerts you can set up for cost thresholds, they just send you an email. They don't actually stop the bleeding.
Okay, so we've covered the power and the peril. It can sound a little overwhelming, I know, but here's the good news. You can get ahead of this. We're going to shift gears now to the solution. Gartner's playbook for taking back control, all broken down into clear, actionable steps.
First things first, and this is totally non-negotiable, you have to clean your house. Before you even think about rolling these agents out widely, you have got to audit your data permissions. Go fix who has access to what in SharePoint and OneDrive. And get rid of all that old, redundant, out-of-date junk that could just confuse the AI or lead to bad answers. This is job number 1. Second, you have to test before you trust. Seriously, don't just take the vendor's word for it. You need to rigorously test all the monitoring and governance tools. If you're planning on agents that work across different platforms, run some pilots to make sure they actually work together. And you've got to push the system. See what happens under a really heavy workload or in some weird edge case scenarios. And third, you have to actively manage the money. Use those pilot programs and free trials to actually model what your costs are going to look like. Pay super close attention to how different ways of designing an agent can totally blow up that billable message count. This is how you avoid those horrible budget surprises later on. And finally, demand clarity. You need to push Microsoft for real performance metrics, for actual case studies, not just the marketing fluff. Make them spell out exactly how an agent's autonomy is limited in high-risk situations. And of course, keep a close eye on all the evolving regulations like the EU AI Act, because they're absolutely going to impact how you can use these tools. So when you boil it all down, Microsoft isn't just selling you another piece of software. What they're really doing is building the default operating system for enterprise AI. And the real question is, have you put the right rules, the right controls, and the right understanding in place to be ready to live in it?